We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. I thought I'd do a Substack Live tonight, and it is Friday night that I'm doing the Substack Live. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to air. I believe tomorrow, Saturday. I also did a live on YouTube, which is taking forever to render down, so I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with that. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I thought I'd come to Substack and see what you folks are up to and talk a little bit about some of the things happening. Of course, we're still dealing with this DHS situation, the shutdown, and it's causing all kinds of problems. You've got huge lines at the airports. Donald Trump had the chance to wrap it up, but he decided to turn down a bipartisan deal. Democrats and Republicans had a deal. They were going to pass it, and Donald Trump nixed that fucking whole thing. So now the Senate comes up with a bipartisan deal. It goes back to the House. Mike Johnson, being a Donald Trump toady, decides not to do anything with it. They're going to come up with some other plan that the Senate will turn down. And people are freaking out because people are mad about what's going on at the airports. It's one of those other situations where Donald Trump can't help but double down and triple down, but at the same time, put himself deeper into the shit. It's the way Donald Trump always goes. He fucks up every time. All right, we've got some people coming in. Vincent says, miss your YouTube live because I was at work. Well, that's a fair enough excuse. We all got to work, except me. I'm retired, so this is kind of my work. Good evening, Spacer. James says Mike Johnson is an ass. And that's being nice, to be honest with you. Mike Johnson is a pussy, first and foremost. Then he's an ass. He's probably the weakest Speaker of the House that we've ever seen. And he's totally controlled by Donald Trump, which is exactly the opposite of what a Speaker of the House should do. But that's what we're dealing with. Pepe Flores, who's been on the show. Good evening, Mike. How have you been? I've been pretty good, actually. In spite of my advanced age, I'm doing all right, doing fine. A little frustrated with all the happenings around the country and around the world, for that matter, but generally speaking, pretty decent. Spacer said, could the Democrats force the vote on the floor, maybe a discharge again? I guess they could. I guess that's possible. Whether they will or not, I doubt it. Because here's what you got to understand. If they force the vote in the House and it even passes, still got to be signed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump won't sign it, and you'll be back in the same spot you were. So I doubt that they'll make that extra effort to do it because it'll all be for naught. Epi says I have very weak Wi-Fi. Well, that's all right, Epi. We're not judging you here. I get weak Wi-Fi too here sometimes because I've got a shitty service. It's kind of intermittent sometimes, and it puts me in a bad situation. So anyway, we've got this war in Iran, and it's starting to make people a little nervous. And I think the people that are nervous are the ones, the brass in the military, because they really don't know what Donald Trump is going to do. He keeps saying that we've won the war and that Iran is begging for a ceasefire. But then Iran tells us, yeah, we don't want a ceasefire. We're not negotiating with somebody we can't trust. And therein lies the problem with Donald Trump. You can sit and negotiate with him regarding tariffs or the war, and he will always change his mind or go back on his word. So there's really no point in negotiating with him because it doesn't accomplish anything. Spacer says, I saw Mike Lundell got served on live TV. You mean served with a subpoena? Wouldn't surprise me. Mike Lundell's running for governor here in Minnesota. I don't know how he believes he has a prayer because people in Minnesota just look at him as an absolute joke. The ones that don't think he's a joke think he's a Trump humper and he's evil and he's a problem. Mike Lindell will be lucky to get a small percentage of votes, but he's not going to win. There's no choice for that. I'm watching the situation with Iran. Donald Trump says we won. We totally wiped them out, but now he wants a ceasefire deal. I just have to wonder why you need a ceasefire if you completely wiped out the country. Why do you need help to open up the Strait of Hormuz if you totally wiped out the country? See, Donald Trump is trying to play like he has the upper hand. That's how Donald Trump does business. He's a bully. When he has the upper hand, he gets people to back down and he rolls over the top of them. But he's running into a problem at this situation because he doesn't have the upper hand. He doesn't have control. So now he's just got to try to act like it and hope his wish will come true. But Iran's not going to let him do that. Iran's going to keep calling him out and not give him what he wants. Then it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that. This is something Donald Trump's not used to, so it might get a little crazy. Vincent says UN having a vote for slavery being a crime against humanity. The U.S. of course votes against it. I don't like Canada. Didn't vote in favor. I don't like Canada. Didn't vote in favor for it. Yeah, the question whether slavery is a crime against humanity. If you have to fucking think about it, you're a racist piece of shit. Fisher says, I'm also confused by this situation with the governor's race in California. I believe Will is right. I think Republicans are trying to pull a Jill Stein situation, thereby splitting the Democratic votes. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the bullshit and the games going on in politics is absolutely ridiculous. That should be enough to tell us that we have a very flawed system, our governmental system. We need some changes. And I'm hoping when this all breaks down, and it will, Donald Trump will go by the wayside, the Republican Party will be destroyed, and there's a distinct possibility that the system as a whole might be affected as well. And I think this system that we're currently in does at the very least need an overhaul. The Republican Party is a total waste. They need to be eradicated and gone. But we have problems in the Democratic Party too, and we need to straighten those things out. It's going to be a lot of work ahead of us. But we could be better off burning the whole fucking thing down and starting over. Vincent Johnny said, will there be any small farms left after the Trump administration? I doubt it. I did a TikTok about that earlier, and I was thinking to myself, most farmers supported Donald Trump. Even though in the first term he fucked them over with the soybeans, but he did bail them out. So apparently they were happy with being bailed out and having their businesses undermined. So he comes back into office, farmers vote for him. First thing he does when he gets into office, he ends U.S. aid, which ends up fucking all the farmers. All that U.S. aid that went out came back to the farmers, and they made money off of this. Donald Trump ends that, and then, of course, they don't. Then Donald Trump imposes tariffs, which again fucks over the farmers. Donald Trump sees that the farmers are bitching and a little upset because they're getting screwed over. So he says, don't worry, I'll bail you out again. The only problem is this time when he bailed them out to the tune of $12 billion, which sounds like a lot of money. But the fact of the matter is you needed about 40 to 50 billion to actually do anything of any substance. He got him 12 billion. So a lot of the bigger farms got money, but those little farms, they didn't get it. They didn't get it. And then to add insult to injury, Donald Trump goes to war with Iran. Oil prices go through the roof, including in those oil prices were diesel fuel, which is what a lot of tractors run on. So now diesel fuel is more expensive. You've already put them in a bad situation. Now you're costing them more in fuel. And then to further add insult to injury, a lot of fertilizer comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And what does get through is going to be dramatically more expensive. You took away their business. You made it harder for them to earn money. And then you added higher oil prices and higher fertilizer prices. My question to farmers is, do you have enough yet? Do you get it yet? You've seen what you've seen, you've heard what you've heard, you've experienced what you've experienced. Are you still supporting Donald Trump? Because if you are still supporting Donald Trump, I have to say, you deserve what you get. People might say that's not very nice. That's not very Christian. Look, I can't save you from you. If you're too stupid to see it, maybe it's the law of the fittest survive. Because if you can't see where the problem is and how it's affecting you, but you still support that person, maybe you deserve what you get. I'm sorry to say that. I hope people will wake the fuck up. Um, I'm also sad my governor, Mike DeWine here in Ohio, outlawed ranked choice voting. But a funny story is that my Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, Trump-humping piece of shit, apparently is a reservist and got activated. Maybe he'll go to Iran. One could hope. Yeah, we've got Republicans out there doing everything they can to fuck with the elections, and they're doing it for one reason. They know they're in trouble. Millennials and Gen Zs in 2028 will be the majority of the voters. These people don't like Republicans, so they're kind of doing a smash and grab at this point, trying to save themselves before everything comes falling in on top of them. They're going to keep trying. It won't work because I think we're going to see an immense amount of people come out and vote. And when that happens, there's really not much you can do with cheating. The only way cheating works is if it's a close race. And honestly, I don't think we're going to see a lot of close races at this point. Vincent says, hope gas prices are manageable for the next couple of months because my family does an annual salmon harvest in July. Well, I'm sorry to say I wouldn't bet on it. We know oil prices went up today. It's well over $100 a barrel, maybe close to $110 a barrel. Keep in mind, at the end of February, a barrel of oil was $67. So we're headed up toward doubling the cost of what oil was. And then you throw in the cost of everything else that comes into play. The stock market took a shit today. The stock market has lost a ton. Now, it's funny. Donald Trump loved to brag about the stock market. Pam Bondi and Donald Trump loved to say, well, the Dow's over 50,000. And it was for a minute until Donald Trump started fucking with it. And now, last thing I saw, the Dow Jones was at about 45,000. That's 5,000 down from the 50 he was talking about. 5,000 points down in the Dow Jones. So that's at 45. Do you want to hear something else that's interesting? What else is interesting? He always talks about how badly Joe Biden's economy was. You know what the stock market was when Joe Biden left office? It was 43,500. So we're talking about just a couple thousand at most difference between what Donald Trump currently has and what Joe Biden has. And Joe Biden didn't have to destroy people's lives and their businesses. Let's see here. Hope Canada, Commonwealth, brother Australia manages their energy emergency. Yeah, I talked to somebody from Australia today, and it sounds like it's absolutely crazy down there. They're not getting oil, and it's very expensive. There might be rationing down there. It's a big problem down there. I hope it doesn't get as bad as what we're seeing in Cuba. Cuba's been cut off from energy, and they are absolutely flailing down there. They don't know what hit them or what they can do about it. But I'm sorry for Australia. A lot of nice folks down there. We get folks coming on these lives, and I hear from them in the comments. I wish you the best, and I hope things straighten themselves out with Australia sometime soon. Well, Trump sunsetting again is moving on to another pet project to distract. Let's talk about moving Madison Square Garden. I didn't even hear that. Is that what he's talking about? Oh, shit. He doesn't have the authority to do any of that stuff. It's funny. I've been hearing reports that people are suggesting that Donald Trump is starting to get bored with the war. And that's not too surprising. He is kind of an ADHD guy. He focuses on something. He's getting good press or bad press. He's all excited about it. But when things go really south, the war isn't an asset to him anymore. So he'd just soon move on to the next thing. Never mind the destructions he's created, the deaths he's caused, and the turmoil in the world that he's creating. But Donnie's bored. Donnie's bored. Kim Taylor says they're trying to make a crash like 2008. Well, they're giving a yeoman's effort because the stock market is not going well. And I got to think that there's some oligarchs that aren't too happy with Donald Trump at this point. Spacer says Australia is having issues with new far-right party One Nation, started by this old hag woman. Her name doesn't matter, but she is a joke, an Australian version of MTG. Wow, that sounds attractive. I don't know what it is about these conservative people always sticking their nose in and always getting enough attention to kind of be in the race. I'm hoping this woman isn't in any kind of power or not for long. I think we're going to see when this all shakes out with Donald Trump. I think we're going to see the demise of a lot of conservative or far right governments around the world. Kim Taylor says it's all about money, cover up Epstein. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what it's about. It's about pedophiles trying to cover up the pedophiles, and they'll do it any way they possibly can. Um, Vincent says, is the world's tallest building in Dubai still standing with Iran bombing Gulf countries? Wonder if any heritage sites will survive. Well, that's a good question. I think that particular building is still standing, but there have been some bombing in Dubai and other surrounding countries. It's interesting. We might see more missiles going into places like Dubai and Qatar and Arab Emirates and all that kind of stuff. Donald Trump threatened um, threatened Iran with if you don't open the Strait of Hormuz um, within 48 hours, we're going to bomb the hell out of your power stations. Well, he got close to the deadline. He said, okay, then you've got some good talks, even though Iran says we haven't talked to him. I'll give you 5 more days. Then we get toward the end of the 5 days, and he says, all right, things are going great. I'm going to give you 10 more days. They aren't going to change their mind. Iran isn't going to cave to Donald Trump. They have no reason to do that. People can be looking at it a couple of ways. Either Donald Trump is just tackling out like he typically does, or he's trying to kill for some time to get more troops into the Middle East. I mean, it's always starting to see this as Donald Trump tripling down and just going balls to the walls and sending troops into Iran. I personally think that's going to be a tragic mistake if that happens. We got 92 million people in Iran. We've got the guard there, 250,000 people. If you're sending in 5 to 10,000 people, they're going to have a hard time of it. They're going to have a hard time of it, and Americans will die. We'll see how the country reacts to that. Fraser says, I don't really get our relationships with the Middle Eastern countries. Donald Trump's friends with benefits like the Saudi Crown Prince or the Qatari royal family, aren't they as big of murderers as the Iranian regime? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Saudi Arabia. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. What do we know about Saudi Arabia? We had 9/11. We went after Iraq, but the majority of the pilots that crashed in the buildings, they were from Saudi Arabia. Osama bin Laden from Saudi Arabia. So why the fuck did he go after Iraq and not Saudi Arabia? See, the thing with Saudi Arabia, it's kind of like Epstein in the sense they have so much money, they feed so much money that they get away with anything they want to do. And if something happens, they cover it up. A good example, when the Crown Prince killed and butchered the journalist. Donald Trump just kind of blew it off, said, well, he said he didn't do it, so it must be fine. This is the problem in this country, in this world. If you have money and power, you can get away with anything. This is what has to fucking stop. Didn't Iran put up a map showing where they will bomb other Gulf countries' infrastructure if they bomb? Yes. I don't know if they put up a map, but they did list some places, some power stations in some of the other Middle Eastern countries, and hopefully America takes note of that. I mean, if we go in and bomb some power stations, and they bomb some power stations and desalinization uh, complexes, there's going to be a lot of problems in the Middle East. There's going to be a lot of people suffering. If you don't know what desalinization is, it's where they bring in salt water, presumably from the ocean, and they make it, they take the salt out somehow, and they make it drinkable, potable, which is kind of necessary when you live in the fucking desert. There's not a lot of fresh water there, so they have to have the desalinization. So you hit one of those desalinization stations, and there is no water for the people. Now you can see how that might be a fucking problem. And once that gets started, all hell is going to break loose in the Middle East. I don't know that Donald Trump wants to do that, but he's certainly not guarding against it. He's doing things that can provoke something like this, and it's very dangerous. You would hope that the people in the military are sitting down with Donald Trump and talking to him about this. It's fucking crazy what they're looking at doing, and the threats don't help. But you have to understand about Iran is Iran has been waiting for just this circumstance for decades. They've been preparing for it. And honestly, they don't care if they die. In fact, they're very proud to die for their God or their country, and they're more than willing to do it. That's a bad situation to send your troops into. I gotta wonder, if you're a parent and you have a son or daughter in the military currently, I wonder how you're feeling now. You feeling good? Or those parents that have kids that are the 5 or 10,000 troops that are being sent to the Middle East, presumably to start a ground war. How you feeling about that? You feeling good about Donald Trump right now? I got to tell you, I would be freaking the fuck out. I would be trying to get my kid out of that military as quickly as possible, if it were possible. Donald Trump is going to get more people killed, and he doesn't care. 1 million people died of COVID, and he just told us it was a hoax and it would go away, and didn't do anything a normal president would do. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about collateral damage. Remember the assassination attempt? My first thought was, oh, it was fake. It was staged by Donald Trump. And then I heard that somebody actually died. And I said, well, if somebody actually died, maybe it wasn't set up. But as time went on and we looked at it more and more, I did come to realize that Donald Trump doesn't care if other people die as long as he's got his ass covered. Spacer says, one of the things that concerns me is that besides AIPAC, there are other nations pouring money into our politics. I am a gamer, and I found out the studio that makes games or studios that film movies are being bought directly by Saudi royal family. But that's besides the point. Yes, media is dying and should be inconsequential in our current issues. But the concerning factor is that how do you enforce antitrust laws if corporations are moved to a murderous regime with an agenda like Saudi Arabia? It shows how our politicians just let these things slide as they turn the other cheek on laws that were meant to protect us. Yeah, that's the point exactly. People always come to me and they say, why isn't Donald Trump or some of his cronies in jail right now? Well, the answer is very simple. Donald Trump controls the DOJ. Pam Bondi is the Attorney General, and they aren't going to prosecute anybody that's their friend. So the very thing that's there to protect us is no longer available because Donald Trump has already co-opted it. Vincent says the amount of forces the Trump administration called up is minimal compared to, hold on. The administration, okay, the amount of forces that the Trump administration called up is minimal compared to the forces amassed for the invasion of Iraq. During that time, America had a coalition forces with other nations. With this new war, only America and Israel. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Donald Trump goes off half-cocked, pisses off all our allies. And even a country as big and as great as the United States of America need allies, need help. I mean, we're running out of um, um, ammunition. Uh, Iran is sending out drones that cost about 20 grand, and we're shooting them down with $3 million missiles. That makes no sense. And we're running out of those missiles. Those missiles take a couple of years to create. I heard something like the U.S. has already sent up 850 missiles. Think about that. 850 missiles they've sent up. And at um, $3 million a piece in 2 years to make them, that's problematic. No question. Now, let's see here. Did you see that Democrat Congresswoman who got convicted by the House Ethics Committee? She's a prime example. Another Henry Cuellar or Bob Menendez. Yes, I did see that. It sounded like she did some dirty shit. And this is the difference between Democrats and Republicans. I see something like that, and if she is convicted and she is guilty of this, they should put her in jail and throw away the key. I don't care that she's a Democrat. I'm not going to protect somebody who is a fucking criminal, and she is without a doubt a fucking criminal. I haven't read the story completely, but it sounds like she did some bad shit. Maybe grabbed $5 million to put in her pocket. That's what people have to understand. If you talk to a Republican, all Republicans are good and all Democrats are bad. You talk to a Democrat, all Republicans are bad, and there are some bad Democrats too. There's no question. Once we can eradicate all the Republicans, then we need to take a hard look at the Democrats and rid ourselves of those that aren't working for us. Spacer says she embezzled FEMA money. Not surprising. It's interesting the timing too in which she stole from FEMA after Donald Trump became president. See, this is the problem. Donald Trump is incompetent. There's a lot of money probably being stolen right now because people figure these people are stupid and we can get away with it. So there's a lot of unsavory folks out there, like this woman, that are going to grab money if it's easily attainable, if there's little or no risk to it. And with Donald Trump in charge, we're dealing with incompetence, and that incompetence makes it easier for people to steal. I've always said that you don't want people to steal from you, certainly, but you don't want to tempt them either. If somebody's got a problem or needs money, and you've got money just laying out there easy to get, it's going to get taken. There's no question about it. So don't even offer the opportunity. Um, Tracy Giddings says, what is FEMA? Bloody crusade of a greater Israel? Um, I'm mixing them up. What is FEMA? I thought it was COVID money. FEMA is a Federal Emergency Management Association or something like that. FEMA is the people that come in when there's a natural disaster, like a hurricane, fire, COVID was part of FEMA. Anything that happens badly by nature or any kind of situation where a city or a town or a state have been devastated by something, FEMA is supposed to come in and help you. Unfortunately, under the current regime, FEMA hasn't done much of jack shit. There's a lot of people that have had losses down in Texas and Hawaii where FEMA would have been valuable to help them out, but they refused to do it. America has a delusional plans of manifest destiny. The Israel has a beginning bloody crusade of greater Israel. Yeah, I think I think our government is a little delusional about some of the things they do. You throw Donald Trump in the mix and it gets even worse. Spacer said, I was sad to see Kate Abigzala lose, especially seeing this woman and what she did. Also, APAC just gloating about it. Yeah, APAC better be careful about how they're gloating. And I agree with you, Kate Abigzala. I didn't know about her at first. Then I started watching her videos. Very sharp young woman, very sharp young woman, and she would be a great representative. And while she lost this particular primary for the special election, keep in mind within the next 8 months, there's going to be another election. This guy will probably come in and fuck things up, and then maybe she'll have another chance. I hope so, because she's exactly the kind of people we need in politics right now. Young, brave, willing to speak out. That's what we need in this government today. You don't need any more old white guys. I'm fucking tired of the old white guys. So I hope she doesn't give up. I hope that she comes back in the next election. And I certainly hope she does a lot better than what she did. Let's see. Trump has stolen billions from the government. Yeah. What have I heard? Donald Trump is now worth $4 or $5 billion, which he didn't have when he came into office. Donald Trump has been grifting in everything he does. I mean, the whole thing with the tariffs, it wasn't really about the tariffs. It was leverage to go into a country, say, I'm going to put a tariff on you unless you cut my son a deal in his business. And then he probably won't do the tariffs. I mean, does anybody even understand where the tariffs are at this point? Are they still on? Clearly they are, because our prices are crazy, but you don't hear them talking about it all the time. Somebody earlier said that Donald Trump is getting bored with the war, and I can see that. Donald Trump seems to bounce around a lot, and he gets a new hot button, and then he goes off on that for a period of time. So, yeah, Donald Trump has stolen billions, and there's been a lot of people that have assisted him in the process, and what you can expect when this is all said and done. Donald Trump is no longer the president, and we have a reasonable DOJ and Attorney General in. There's going to be some investigations, there's going to be indictments, prosecutions, and there's going to be some convictions. And if I was Pam Bondi, I'd be looking over my shoulder. She's been part and parcel to the largest cover-up in the history of America. If she thinks she's not going to be indicted, she's fucking crazy. She's going to get convicted. Let's see here. I've been trying to spread the word on some other options we need in our government. Francesca Hong for Wisconsin governor, Abdul Al-Sayed for Michigan senator, and Sakrat Charabarty to replace Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, I'm glad to see Nancy Pelosi on the way out. I mean, she did a great job. She was a solid Speaker of the House, but she's really run out her expiration date. And she's too much in bed with big money like APAC. I think Nancy Pelosi is one of the people that carries some sway over Hakeem Jeffries, and part of the reason Hakeem Jeffries is the way he is. Now, what I want you to understand too is when we get to the new election, if we get a lot of young progressives um, in the House of Representatives and in the Senate for that matter, our current leadership is going to be in trouble. I think even people that have been in the Senate for a while are already looking at getting rid of Chuck Schumer, getting his ass kicked out the door. He doesn't do anything for us. He's weak. He's writing strongly worded letters. I'm tired of his ass. And the same goes for Hakeem Jeffries. Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Nancy Pelosi, they're all kind of in the same group. They're all making a ton of money off of APAC and other lobbies. And that's the first priority. It's not the people of this country. And that's where the problem lies. We need more and more people representing the people as opposed to representing themselves, as most of them are doing right now. Well, let's see. Hope any far-right parties in other countries are doing badly because the world sees the Trump administration actions. Well, I would presume that would be the case. I don't know for sure. I mean, you have to understand about the far-right people. Um, they're fairly isolated when it comes to actual information. They have their one source, like we have Fox News here. You go listen to Fox News, you don't hear all the stories. You don't hear the full stories. And sometimes you hear flat out lies. But if that's all you listen to, that's all you know. And therein lies the problem. That's why we can't argue with Trumplefucks. If I go sit across the table with a Trumplefuck, I throw up some facts. They don't even know what I'm talking about because they haven't heard it yet. So it makes it very difficult. Spacer says, I recently watched a podcast featuring Graham Klattner, and he made a good point that shows the weakness of the Democrats. He mentioned that the last year, before he even launched his campaign, the DNC approached him and said, you need to get in line. It's not your turn yet. Why does it seem like primary system is like a monarchical system where the party establishment chooses the representatives like a royal picking, noble, no kings? Well, that's exactly right. And that's largely the reason why Hillary Clinton didn't run in 2020. Um, they wanted to give it to Biden, and Biden was the right choice, obviously. Back in 2016, remember what was between Bernie and Hillary Clinton? And Hillary Clinton won the primary and went up against Donald Trump. That's kind of how it was. I think Hillary Clinton believed that she was ready for her turn. She'd spent the time, she'd done the work, and that's true. But she felt like she was entitled to this nomination regardless, just by virtue of her being next in line. Now, I would suggest that had it been Bernie Sanders running against Donald Trump, Bernie would have probably beat Donald Trump. And here's why. When people voted for Donald Trump, they were saying basically they're tired of the establishment politics. They needed something different. Hillary Clinton was pretty much establishment politics to most people. So that's why they didn't vote for her. Plus, she's a woman, and that may have some bearing on it too. But Donald Trump represented something different, something new, something off from the norm. Okay. Now, if Bernie Sanders had been running in 2016, he could have offered the same thing. He wasn't establishment. He wasn't your standard Democrat. He was somebody who was going to fight for the people. So if Bernie had run, I believe he would have beaten Donald Trump and he would have been saved a lot of bullshit. But Hillary Clinton seemed to believe, and so did the Democrats, that she was next up and deserved a shot at the presidency. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who's in order. Whoever runs for president, they fucking better win. It's not because you're entitled to something. It's because you can win the election. And that's why I think Kamala probably shouldn't come back. It's tough after you've had a loss like that. Plus, you've seen America basically say they're racist and sexist, and we can't afford to take a chance. Wherever we run in 2028, better win, or we're all in even deeper trouble than we're in currently. Um, let's see here. The Trump family is going to make money from ammunitions that are being wasted in Iran. I don't know that for sure. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's conceivable. I mean, take a look at everything. Donald Trump has pretty much gamed the system. He's got ways to make money no matter what he's doing. He's going into the media and blackmailing them and saying, you better do this, you better pay me money, otherwise you're in trouble. We know Corey Lewandowski, who was an associate or a assistant to Christy Nome. He flat out was telling people, I can help you get a contract, but you got to pay me first. He was very blatant about it. That's how this whole Trump regime works. It's how much money can I make for myself first, and then what can we get done? who Donald Trump is. That's who everybody around him is. Eric Gon Jr., Ivanka, and Barron have all benefited financially from their father's presidency, but the Republicans accused Hunter of doing the same thing. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And what did they find on Hunter? Nothing much. They didn't find anything on them, and then they go out and do what they're doing. It's like what everybody says. Um, every accusation is a projection. It's something that they're responsible for. And Donald Trump is an absolute key to that situation. He always makes accusations, and you can almost guarantee that whatever he's accusing, he's either done or in the process of doing. Let's see here. What I see is the current DNC is getting corrupted by AIPAC, getting rid of any social democrats and putting up establishment Democrats. Well, they're trying to do that. Whether they will be successful, I don't know. There's something else going on if you're listening to Democrats. A lot of Democrats are saying they aren't going to take AIPAC money anymore. I'll be honest with you, this war has caused problems for the Trump administration, but it's caused even bigger problems for Israel and the perception of Israel in this country. A lot of people are turning away from Israel at this point because they don't like what went on in Gaza and the genocide. They don't like that they sucked our president into a war that we're going to be stuck in. It's going to be a quagmire. People are feeling some kind of way about Israel. I don't know how Israel's going to fare here if this continues. What else we got here? Spacer says, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump has been trying to force Barron to seek a marriage with a monarch. I remember the rummage about how Barron should marry the Princess of Denmark or Greenland, or the creepy Japanese comments by the Prime Minister about how handsome he was. Maybe the Trumps are looking for an out. Not Trump himself. He's a lost cause. But maybe the family who might want to flee the country after this is over. You know, Donald Trump is probably not going to leave because he can't go anywhere. Everybody's going to know who he is, and he's going to be resoundingly hated. But I've said this before: Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, they're stuck. They're tied to this legacy permanently. But if you're one of the grandkids, or if you're one of his kids and have children, I'd want to get them out of the country, and I'd want them to change their last name. It's going to be that bad, ultimately. There's going to be a lot of hatred for the name Trump, and it's going to be in the history books, and they will be pariah. Anybody connected to Trump is going to be considered bad. When you think about it, after Hitler did what he did, he's had grandnephews who had to change their names because of the problems it would cause if they kept the name, because it's a very specific and a very unique name, Hitler. Same thing for Trump. If 25 years from now you have a name that's Trump, you're going to get laughed at, ridiculed, and beat the fuck out of. Because people are going to learn to hate Donald Trump. Even his base is going to come to dislike him because they're going to suffer the pains that Donald Trump is causing. Let's see here. Did you hear that we're sending 10,000 more troops in there to Iran? Well, they're not sending them into Iran yet, but they are sending them to the Middle East. I think we have 5,000 or 6,000 now. Heard about them talking regarding sending 10,000 more people to the Middle East. The only reason that could be is to either threaten a ground invasion or to actually commit a ground invasion. And the problem with it is he's trying to bully. He's trying to scare Iran, and it's not working. They don't give a fuck about that. They're ready to fight no matter how many people we send in. I saw J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio are getting a little nervous. There was rumors J.D. may not run in 2028. Neither will Marco. Whether that is true, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. There are going to be some things after 2028 but the Republican would want to be president after Trump. Yeah. Well, none of them expect that they could win, for one thing. So why run in a race you know you can't win? JD Vance is so overwhelmingly hated. I don't see him doing it. But when this all shakes out and all this negative shit has gone down, Marco Rubio's reputation will be absolutely jack shit. The only thing the Republicans can do as we get closer to that election is try to rehabilitate themselves, try to create a new image for the Republican Party and get an entirely new candidate. Whoever their candidate in 2028, it's going to be hard pressed to get somebody that was tied to the Trump administration. By that time, Trump will be the pariah. People will be struggling and blaming Donald Trump and the Republican Party. So if they have any hopes of doing anything, they are going to have to get somebody brand new that maybe nobody's heard of and try to do what they can to change the perspective or the perception of the Republican Party. Let's see, Saddam Hussein's daughter changed her name and moved to America to get away from her father's legacy. Yeah, I expect to see that too with the Trump thing. It's going to be that bad. I mean, it's already that bad. Um, hope the Hungarian people vote out Orban. That would be hilarious. I don't know what the elections are like in Hungary. I don't know if they're fair. I mean, they have elections in Russia, and Putin always wins. It may be the same thing in Hungary. I hope not. I would love to see Orban get out, kicked out on his ass, and I'd love to see what Donald Trump does when that happens, because they're supposed to be buddies. What are your thoughts about Cash Patel getting his emails hacked? I think it's interesting. I think this first part of this hack was simply to embarrass and show people that they could do it. Nothing has been released, anything incredibly damning about Cash Patel in this hack. They got his resume out there. They got some pictures of him kicking back, not acting like a FBI director. So it's a little embarrassing. I mean, can you imagine being the head of the FBI and having your email hacked? That's fucking ridiculous. If anybody should be protected, if anybody should be secure, you'd think it'd be the FBI director. Hey, Spacer, what's your thoughts on the Iranian Lego propaganda video? I think it's fucking awesome. And I think that Iran has learned the lesson from Gavin Newsom. Best way to get at Donald Trump's head, get in Donald Trump's head, is to make fun of him, embarrass him. And I think Iran is on board to embarrass him as much as possible. Just by virtue of how the war's going, Donald Trump has got to be nervous and embarrassed. You got to keep pushing that scenario, keep embarrassing him, because then he will lose his shit. I mean, even more so than he already has. Spacer says Iran has Trump's number. They know his personality. They know how to make him mad, embarrassing him. Vincent, Iran is like a Mandalorian from Star Wars. Iran is not a country. It is a creed. Yeah, it's one thing to start a war with another country, but Iran is a much different situation, far different situation. As I've said, these people are fearless because they don't care if they die. They're going to protect their God, their country, and their government. See, Donald Trump thought he could just go in and bomb the hell out of them and tell the citizens to go and overthrow your government. Didn't happen. Donald Trump didn't know what to do. Donald Trump got stuck there, caught holding his dick in his hand, and he didn't know what to do. He still doesn't know what to do. So now he's running around telling everybody, we won, we won, we won, even though they haven't won. And he wants to talk about a ceasefire, and Iran has basically said, yeah, we're not going to do a ceasefire. We'll say when it's done. And that's getting in Donald Trump's head. He doesn't like to be told what to fucking do. SM says, I hear that we have basically used up all our ammunition in Iran and have very small ability to replenish them in time. Yeah, as I've said, these Tomahawk missiles, they're a couple $3 million a piece, so we need money to do that. And as I understood it, these missiles take a couple of years to make. So if you run through 850 like they did, it won't take long before you're completely out. And then what the fuck do you do? Carney managed to get to the NATO 2% promise. Yeah, Donald Trump's always whining about everybody else not putting in enough money. All I know about Donald Trump is he keeps telling us he's getting tariff money and he's cutting costs and waste and all that sort of stuff. My taxes haven't changed a bit. When do we see the benefit of what Donald Trump is alleged to be doing? We never will, because that money doesn't come back to us. It goes to Donald Trump and his cronies, his oligarchs. This is what happens um, if say you're a store owner and three guys with masks come in. They don't even hold you up. They just smash and grab everything and run the fuck out of the store. That's what Donald Trump is doing right now. Smash and grab, but he's doing it to the entire country. Speech says Polyev is falling in the polls. Why would the conservatives keep him as a leader? It makes no sense. Well, why would they keep Donald Trump as a leader? That makes no sense. Donald Trump's polls are through the floor. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think part of it is if they've got somebody that has any popularity, they want to hold on to them because they know whatever comes after that is going to fail. I think they see Donald Trump as their last ditch effort. If Donald Trump is gone, then they have no chance of accomplishing anything. And maybe that's what they're thinking in Canada too, the conservatives. Um, People are leaving his board of peace in droves. The Indonesian president is being forced to leave. He is a Trump-like figure, but the people of Indonesia are pissed because of Trump's demand for the 1 million Trump is demanding from them. Not 1 million, 1 billion is what he's asking. They had somebody who's running the board of peace and they were asking him questions. Is it a government agency? It's not a government agency. It is a legal company. Not even that. They were so stupid when they came up with the term board of peace. Instantly, somebody who has a sharp mind went out and got the web address boardofpeace.com. So they can't even get the fucking regular domain name. So now they're going through some shit to try to get something different or better or buy out the other one. This is how stupid they are. They just come up with ideas and they pull it out of their ass and they just do whatever the fuck they want, and they always end up failing. SM says, I hear girls are getting pregnant in the detention centers. Yes, I heard that too. That is fucking absolutely appalling that is happening. One of the things I'm not looking forward to is when this is all over and we go into the detention camps to see what kind of crimes were committed. It's going to be similar to U.S. military liberating concentration camps. I'm afraid of what they're going to find and how we're going to handle that. It's going to be appalling. It's going to be atrocious. There will be atrocity, and just not looking forward to it. We need to put an end to it. Get these people who are being tortured, essentially, if for no other reason than locking them up as citizens of the United States. It's absolutely appalling. We should be above this in this country, but clearly we're not. Also, Indonesia being an Islamic majority nation, Indonesia feels betrayed by Trump because they are getting assurances for the Gazans. No shit. Yeah. Anybody who put trust in Donald Trump, I'd have to say you are incredibly stupid. because Donald Trump has no loyalty to anybody. He doesn't care, and eventually he's going to throw you under the bus. Just ask Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just ask Kristi Noem. He may love you one moment, and the next minute you're not worth anything to him, and you're out the door. And countries are like that too. If you don't do what Donald Trump wants, then you don't matter anymore. Vincent says, Spacer, I don't know. Also, I saw news that Polyev is agreement with J.K. Rowling's support for Olympic ban of transgender in women's sports. I'm not saying that this isn't an important issue. I think all people should be treated equally and decently and fairly. But when we talk about transgender people, we're talking about a very small percentage of this country. The idea that the Republicans have used them to make people fearful that somebody's going to force their kids to be transgenders, it's absolutely ridiculous. But when you have stupid people that listen to this stuff, they're going to buy into it. And that's the unfortunate thing. I don't know why we can't just let people be people and do what they will. As far as transgender women being in women's sports, I don't know what the right answer to that is. I don't care. We've got so many big issues. We should let transgender people do what they do, let them lead their lives, seek liberty and justice like everybody else, and not isolate them out as they're somehow worse than anybody else in this country. And that's exactly what the Republicans are doing. When Trump dies, it will be like VJ Day in Times Square after WW2. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I liken it to Mardi Gras. There'll be people dancing in the streets, and the Republicans will be appalled by how we're behaving at the loss of their Lord and Savior. But fuck them. Fuck them. I think Trump is desperate, and as he gets more desperate, he'll nuke Iran. I can't imagine that happening. As much as the military has been kind of complicit with him, there's going to be a red line, and I think dropping a nuke is probably that red line. Because once you do that, you stir up the entire world and put everybody in danger. Nobody's willing to do that. I mean, Donald Trump might be willing to do that, but I don't think the people around him will allow him to do that. The IOC Olympic Committee has always been flip-floppy on social issues. Well, yeah, the IOC is very political. They go with whatever's popping. And when it comes to the Olympics and what they do with transgender folks, I don't really care. People are people. Let people be people. Should they be competing against women? I don't know. There's not enough of transgender folks to really make this a big deal. This is just one way for them to marginalize the LGBTQ folks or the transgender folks. This is what Donald Trump does. He takes every possible angle to marginalize people he doesn't like or who he's afraid of. And that's what he's doing. He'll do it with anybody. He does it with the Democrats. He takes any possible angle to work against them, whether he believes it or not. Graham Plattner made a good point. It's just a trigger policy for image. The number of transgender kids participating in sports is minuscule. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a trigger point. What makes racist, sexist, homophobic people nervous, and they're afraid of it. So this is why he uses it, and this is why they lash out. I read in the news that Ukraine will run out of money in June of this year. Well, that's distinctly possible. I mean, the United States isn't exactly helping out like they should. The world economy is going to shit thanks to Donald Trump, so even Europe's going to have a tough time keeping them funded. See, that's the thing. One thing happens and it's like dominoes. One thing falls, the next thing falls, and it steadily gains speed and does more damage. And this is where we are with Donald Trump right now. The amount of damage he's caused right now is minor compared to what we'll end up with. mean, even if Donald Trump keeled over today, the period of time we would have to take to get out of this and clean things up, it's likely to get worse before it gets better. James says, I wouldn't be surprised if the person who now owns the domain name of the peace organization is connected to Trump. Yeah, that's distinctly possible. That's, yeah, I didn't think about that. That's, yeah, that's possible. It's always a grift involved with Dirty Nine. Always some kind of grift. All right, we're getting to that point. I'm going to wrap things up for this Substack Live. I want to thank you all for joining me and making this conversation interesting by participating. For those of you listening, I'm just going to mention this last thing that Spacer said. I saw Lindsey Graham was increasing chances of losing his seat. Slim but possible. A doctor or woman is running against him. Hopefully he's out next year. I hope so too. Lindsey Graham, he's not mentally all there. There's something fucked up with him. He's a warmonger. He's a Trump humper. He has no redeeming values. He's got his own issues. Lindsey, you might as well just go back to South Carolina, figure out your own shit, and stay out of politics because you're doing nothing but hurting your constituents and the rest of the country. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up. Again, I want to thank you all for jumping in and joining me. It's absolutely essential to make this conversation interesting. Those of you that spend time listening, thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.